Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. To say the least, it has been a minute since I last uploaded and I'm sorry about that. In all honesty, I haven't really been in the mood to upload any videos, but today I thought I should upload this one because I've been seeing a lot of people canceling winter already even though it's December 27th, and winter usually in El Nino years don't start until mid-January and early February. The pattern on your screen is what we've been in since a little before the 21st of December. We have ridging out in the east, a little bit of a trough out in the west, Midwest part of the region, and then a big deeper trough out in, let's say, eastern Siberia into Alaska, where Alaska is seeing record snowfall as we speak. But, at least according to the ensembles, which I will show you the GFS as well, but the European, as time goes on, you can see that ridge that is in part of Canada retrogrades back into Alaska, causing ridging to go into Alaska, part of the Northwest Pacific, and in the Western Canadian territories and regions. But as we continue, you can see, at least according to the ensembles here, let's back it up a little bit, you have a nice lobe, the TPV, which is coming down from the Arctic, giving nice Arctic air. We have ridging up in Alaska, which is causing also Arctic air to be pushed down. And you can see a split in your southern jet right out here. Your northern jet comes up here and goes down into the Midwest and eastern part of the country, and our southern jet is down here going up the coast. As we continue this on a little bit, let me just erase everything out of here. You can see a little bit a trough. I wouldn't say troughing completely, but lower pressures start to come back. Not so much ridging back in Alaska, but notice you still have an active southern jet down here going up the coast. You still have our TPV sitting up here bringing down cold air. And you also have a negative AO, Arctic Oscillation, and negative NAO, North Atlantic Oscillation. So blocking up here is perfect for the East Coast. This, let me just erase all this. This out in the West Coast is not really the greatest look, but it could definitely be a lot worse compared to what we were just at right now. Look at this. Let's bring it back into a 360 range where if we take a look at the 850 millibar temperatures, it's nothing crazy. Yes, you do have a little bit of warmth in the northeast, but with cold Arctic air just sitting right back up here, getting ready to be drained down if a storm wants to come up the coast, which it probably will with an active southern jet that we have due to El Nino. If we go back to our 500 millibar jet, well not jet, but a 500 millibar heights, I can show you a couple opportunities that we have for the eastern part of the country, a little bit of the mid-Atlantic, if it were to, let's say, materialize. The first one is January 3rd and 4th. You can see our system down here, at least according to the European ensembles, goes up the coast. So it starts down here and it goes somewhere up the coast. Whether it's close enough to the coast and has enough cold air to work with is still unknown. But then a second one starts to form on the 5th and 6th and 7th. You can see there's multiple waves of these. You can see down here is your little kink in the jet stream, so that lets you know that there is a storm around. But I think this is the better one, better chance that we could work with because our TPV is sitting right up here draining cold air as our system tries to make it up the coast. Whether it does, phases with the storm and gets close enough to the coast is still unknown. But then there's another one possibly behind it. You can see another one right here. And we have our blocking up here. So there really shouldn't be too many inland runners unless a trough wants to complete. Let me excuse me for a sec. Unless a trough wants to go from this, what we're in right here, pretty much right now, according to the European ensembles on the 11th. If they want to move from that to something like this, a trough like this, and you have a blocking up here, maybe a storm would like to go like this, a little bit closer inland. But then again, I really don't see that as of right now because we have lots and lots of blocking and still somewhat a little bit of, I wouldn't say complete negative EPO. It's more of a neutral EPO because you do have lower heights in that region as well, but you also have a little bit of higher heights than normal in that region as well. Now, the GFS ensembles is pretty similar to the European ensembles. If we fast forward to the 3rd and 4th of January, you can see once again we have our first system sitting right here, a little kink in a jet stream, and then our second one entering California. But as we continue this, you can see it tries to go up the coast again, but then again, that's to be determined if it does. Our second one is in New Mexico, on the New Mexican border, tries to go up the coast again, but then again, obviously we don't know, it's too far out. And then possibly another one on the 9th, but then again, this is still too far out to know for sure. But you can see the pattern is generally the same. You have your blocking up in the Arctic regions, your neutral EPO, I would say, and you still have your TPV sitting right here. So you do have cold air around, which is a lot better than what we had. And your jet stream is sort of like this. So overall, I think in this pattern, you could definitely see snow still. So it's not like it's going to be very torchy out, not a lot of warm air around. If we go to the temperatures, 850 millibars temp anomaly, I forgot the name of it for a second. But you can see, overall, majority of the country is below average at this time. Yes, it's not like what you're going to have on the 4th, 5th, 6th time frame, which I think is definitely a better time frame if you want to see snow along the East Coast. But it's not like it's going to be crazy warm. You will have a lot of precipitation to work with because you have an active subtropical jet due to your El Nino. You will have your Arctic air sitting probably in this region, anywhere in this region, being ready to use if a storm wants to come along. It's just a matter of timing at this point. If we take a look at the GFS here and show you what I mean by that, take a look at the 12Z. If we quickly jump to here, you can see that's a near miss for the coast. If you want to take a look at, where's the vortex? This, you can see it really doesn't phase with anything. It gets its act together, but there's nothing causing it to be lifted north. You have your storm here, and you have your northern branch up here, but they're not connecting together, so that storm gets kicked out. If we erase this off the map real quick and continue, you can see the same thing pretty much happens with your other storms. You have activity in the south, activity in the north, but they're not linking together, so that causes again to be pushed off the coast. But then again, it does, if you want to take a look at this, it sort of gets its act together right by, I guess you could say, the Gulf of Maine, but it's way too late for the East Coast. And then you have another storm that comes down from this active sub, I can't speak, the active subtropical jet. But then again, there's nothing that causes it to be lifted north. But as you can see with this one, if you want to believe it, you have a piece coming down from the northern branch and a piece from the southern branch coming together, merging, and then eventually getting a storm kicked up like that. That's one way you could get an inland runner completely, according to the GFS, and that is definitely possible, but it's just not likely at this point. Maybe towards the 15th, when you get a slight relaxation in the pattern, which is definitely possible. But as of right now, I don't see that happening. Now, on your screen here is 10 millibar heights in the Arctic region. So this on your screen right here is your polar vortex right here, sitting right by Eurasia, you can pretty much say, right by Scandinavia. And then it retrogrades, if I could just continue. Oh, I can't. All right. So on your screen here, you can see it retrogrades towards Siberia, but then you can see a pretty large swath of warming coming from Asia coming and attacking this polar vortex. Now, the question lately is not if that warming is going to come. It's pretty much likely at this point that the warming is going to come. It's pretty much whether a question if this polar vortex will split due to the warming. Now, recently, the models have been showing that it will not split. You can see the warming does eventually go away, and then the polar vortex eventually regains its strength a little bit and sits in the Arctic Circle. But if we go back a little bit, a couple days ago, you can see the models were definitely hinting at a split. This final run showed a polar vortex split one area in Europe and the other one back towards the western coast of America. The other, excuse me, the other run after it showed one right by Hudson Bay, one by Eurasia, one by Greenland, one by Eurasia. A little bit weaker by Hudson Bay, but still definitely split and more towards Eurasia in this one. But then recently, you can see it's been wanting to hang on to it a little bit longer. I mean, if you want to take a look at the GFS ensembles, they were hinting at a split a couple days ago too, but then you can see now not so much. So that's pretty much a little bit of a doomer, if you Debbie Dooner, Debbie Downer, if you want to say. But yeah, I mean, if you want to believe for some reason the Canadian ensembles, which you really shouldn't, it's been saying it's more likely that it's gonna split recently. So there is definitely still a chance that it could split, but like at this point, it's not looking likely. Now onto the teleconnections here, you can see this is your Arctic oscillation. When it's negative, more Arctic air gets displaced from the Arctic, comes down into Europe, Asia, North America, Alaska. You get the whole idea. It was positive. It was strongly positive. So that means the polar vortex was strong at one point, as you just saw. But now is quickly going down into negative range, which will allow more Arctic air to come out of that region and now be displaced down south. Our NAO, which is blocking by Greenland, is also projected to go negative now, which is very good for eastern snow lovers and a little bit of Western Europe. But the only bad part so far that I have seen out of the teleconnection is our positive PNA that has been positive since the 13th of December is finally going to go back towards neutral range by, let's say, mid January, which is what the models were hinting at before when our EPO and PNA start to go towards the negative range, which is causes that troughing to be more into the central part of the. Now our MJO is in phase 1 right now, which is cold signal for the eastern part of the US, which it takes 2 to 3 weeks to trickle down into the pattern, which is understandable. So right by the first week of January, we'll be into this pattern of MJO1, but then it retrogrades into phase 2 and then phase 3. Now, what does this mean for the pattern overall for January? Well, for phase 2 in January, usually you have cooler anomalies in the south and southeast and mid-Atlantic regions of the US, and a little bit of blocking pattern near Greenland, Canada, and Alaska. So let's say you have your positive PNA out here, a little bit of a neutral, I guess slightly negative EPO, or positive AO, and I would guess neutral NAO. But then into phase 3 of our MGO, you can see pretty much all of America except Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, a little bit in New York, and the western coast is a little bit above average, but the rest of the country is below average with a negative EPO due to the warmer temperatures, which suggests blocking, which is a negative EPO, and presumably a negative NAO and a slightly neutral to maybe negative NAO, AO. So what do I think overall? I think we are in for a good time in January, especially heading towards February. You just gotta trust the process. Winter isn't just gonna come at you with a flip of the switch. It's gonna take time to go from one pattern to the next, and you just gotta trust yourself a little bit. I know we've been recently, the past 2 years, at least in the East Coast, I know, since I'm from here, we've been in a little bit of a drought with the snow. But I promise you, if you wait just a little bit longer into mid-January and February, then you could say winter's over if nothing is coming. Not December 27th, when winter just started officially a few days ago. I know I haven't uploaded recently, I'm sorry about that, but I hope everyone had a great Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and I hope everyone has a great New Year's coming up, and I hope everyone got what they wanted for Christmas. I hope everyone has a great